When Layla came home for a weekend, we cooked together. She cut onions like an apology, and I taught her how to hold the knife so the blade did the work. She asked me how I was, really. I told her the truth. Sad in the mornings, steady by noon, sometimes ambushed by memory at dusk, fine again by bedtime. She said that sounded like weather. I said it was. She said, "I'm proud of you." And I understood why people put two hands over their heart in movies. It's to keep the gratitude from spilling out of your chest onto the floor. The first time I saw Marcus after the call, he was standing at the curb with a paper bag of books he was returning. He looked older, or maybe I was seeing clearly for the first time in years. We didn't hug, we didn't cry. We made a joke about the blender. We stood there like neighbors who used to share a fence and now wave from across the street. When he left, I didn't collapse. Progress sometimes arrives dressed as a very boring afternoon. On my therapist's suggestion, I wrote him a letter I never intended to send. I wrote about the first time I knew I loved him, how he ran back into the store because I said I forgot my scarf, when really, I wanted to see if he'd notice. He did. I wrote about the time we almost broke up at 31 and how the makeup was a quiet agreement in the way he refilled my water glass without asking. I wrote about my anger, the clean, bright kind that wakes you up. I wrote about my fear of being alone at 50 and my new fear of being with someone who thinks love means not having to consider me. And then I wrote about my hope, which surprised me by showing up in a red sweater and insisting we keep going to the farmer's market because the peaches were just coming in. One afternoon, I took the dress out of the garment bag. It felt like opening a museum exhibit. I ran my fingers over the beading, the tiny, careful work of hands I didn't know. I expected to fall apart. Instead, I sat on the edge of the bed and thanked it. Thank you for reminding me I can carry weight and still be beautiful. Thank you for teaching me that beauty isn't a bargain I make with someone else's choices. I folded it back with ceremony and wrote a note to myself. Wear white in August anyway. Buy carnations for no reason. Celebrate the day you chose yourself. People started to ask in whispers or direct boldness if I would date again, as if 50 were a finish line, as if love were a game you age out of like soccer leagues. I said I didn't know. I said I was dating my life. I was dating mornings on the porch with coffee and Saturdays at the thrift store where I picked up other people's teacups and imagined their conversations. I was dating the piano in the living room I'd always meant to learn. I was dating my own company, which turned out to be interesting, funny, and capable of fixing a leaky sink with a YouTube tutorial. I went to a concert alone. I wore red lipstick and flat shoes and stood in the back where the sound is best. The band played a song we used to dance to in the kitchen, and I thought it would hurt. It didn't. It felt like stretching a muscle that had been asleep. After the encore, a woman my age complimented my earrings and asked if I wanted to grab a late dessert. We split a slice of lemon cake and told each other the abbreviated versions of our lives. On the walk to our cars, she said, "You look lighter leaving than you did coming in." I said, "I think I am." The court date arrived like all official things do. Too early in the morning, too fluorescent in the lighting, too indifferent to whether or not your heart is ready. We sat on opposite sides with people we paid to translate the story of us into orders and decrees. When the judge asked if the marriage was irretrievably broken, the phrase rattled around in the room like a coin in a tin can. I said yes. My voice didn't shake. I wondered if that meant anything. Afterward, walking down the courthouse steps, I expected a soundtrack, a montage, a new chapter page turning with a satisfying rustle. Instead, there was traffic and a man selling hot dogs and a breeze that tried to steal the file from my hands. I laughed alone, and it wasn't bitter this time. It was the sound of air returning to a room. I went home and opened the windows. The plant on the sill had grown 2 new leaves. I texted the kids, told them it was done, and we were all still here. Jamal sent a muscle emoji. Layla sent a string of hearts. My mother called and said, "Come by." I made stew. I told her I'd be there after my walk. I tied my shoes and stepped into a neighborhood that hadn't changed just because I did. The bench was still empty, the trees still three kinds, the bakery window still sweet with noon. I stood at the corner and let the light warm my face. People will say, ending a marriage is like a death. It is, but it's also like a birth. Messy, painful, loud, necessary, and somehow the room holds more than one feeling without bursting. I can miss what we had and not want it back. I can remember our best day and still know my best days are not behind me. I can be 50 and brand new. That night, I set the table just for me. Real napkin, the good plate, candle lit like I was a guest worth celebrating. I ate slowly. I played Sam Cooke, and then Lizzo, and then a podcast about bees. I washed the dishes and left them to dry like little moons catching the kitchen light. Before bed, I stood in the doorway of the guest room and didn't think of the years he slept there. I thought of the friends who would visit, the granddaughter who would use it for blanket forts, the version of me who would one day paint it yellow because the world can't have too much yellow. When I finally climbed under the covers, I whispered a thank you to the woman who opened the envelope at her own party and didn't disappear. I thought of the girl I was at 25, climbing into a life with both feet, brave in a way that didn't know its own name yet. I thought of the woman I am at 50, climbing out with both hands, brave in a way that leaves a map behind. I slept, real sleep, the kind that finds you when you've stopped pretending you don't need it. And in the morning, the first one of whatever this is, I made coffee, opened the back door, and let the day in like a guest I've been expecting. I thought about what's next. Not a man, not a plan, not a performance, just a string of ordinary moments stitched together by my own choosing. I pressed my palm to the cool glass of the window, felt the sun meet me halfway, and said out loud to no one and everyone, "Happy birthday."